Hey everyone, welcome back to Your Gear Sucks. I really appreciate you guys who tuned in so far. Thank you for everyone who took us over the 500 subscriber hump. It allows us to make more of these videos, so I really appreciate that. And if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Helps the channel out a lot. But today I bring you one of the best Spark accessories that I've got in my collection. It's a brand new offering from Xsonic, and it's the Xsonic ULooper. Let's get into it. Now, this is not just your average looper for your guitar amp. Most loopers are all kind of built the same. They have different functionality, but they all kind of work the same way. This one works completely differently, and I'm going to explain that in a second. But before we do that, let's go over the build quality and size and all those kind of fun things. It comes in a tiny box like this, so not a big delivery size, but it works just as well. Let's see. Let's go to overhead camera, and I'll walk you through it. You can see it's just got your basic functionality. You've got your on-off, your record stop. You've got a connection input on the side and a connection output on the other side, like your typical loop pedal. But this input is for a future expansion functionality for an expression pedal or something else, and that is going to come with a future firmware update. And this output here is not your typical output. This output here will allow you to go to a PA or a record out, and it acts like an effects send, which is amazing. And you got your volume here. Let me get you in focus. Let's get you in focus. Here we go. You got your volume in the middle. I like to keep that at about 12 o'clock because that is pretty much unity for the Spark amp. On the back side is super unique. You've got your USB out. That is what connects to your Spark amp. They give you a USB-A to a USB-C cable. The USB-C goes in the back of the Spark. The USB-A goes here. This is your 9-volt power, right? So you can use your typical pedal power to power this, but I usually don't like using that because it's annoying to plug in. We all have USB cables lying around, and a USB-C input here allows you to power this with USB, which is amazing for functionality, portability, and just the general expense of like the 9-volt DC adapters is annoying, and these we have all lying around. So that just goes over the basic functionality. The build quality is really good. Aluminum with, it looks like an aluminum backing here, and some pads and all that kind of good stuff. Now let's compare it to your typical small, tiny looper. This is the one I typically take with me, traveling. It is really robust, really thick, and the build quality is pretty similar. This is actually heavier than this, which made me a little weary about this to begin with because I was used to having something this rock solid. But the weight of this and the weight of this is not much different, but the size, you can see the ULooper is actually a bit thinner this way, right? And just slightly bigger the other way, right? And on that side is just like, so you can see it's very portable. It's a great option to take with you traveling, especially when you use something like a Spark Mini or a Spark Go. These are fantastic little devices to have, and I'll show you why. Let's go back to main camera. Okay, so we got our looper, we got our functionality, we got our size, we got our build quality. Now let's go into the connectivity of it. Now I showed you on the back here, you got your USB-C, your USB-A to USB-C. So basically all you do is you take your typical USB-A to USB-C cable, which I'm looking at the monitor up there, so don't mind me if I'm not looking into the camera. And it comes with one of these, but I have these like longer ones that I got off Amazon. I'll post a link to them below, and they are perfect. They're really robust. The other one that it comes with is a little bit shorter, but this one is absolutely fantastic, and I have two of them, one to power it, one to communicate with the amp, so they're nice in similar length. All right, so we'll pop the USB-A into the back. Let's go to overhead. USB-A into the back, easy, right? We got our Spark Mini. In the back here, we have a USB input. You can see here. right? Your USB input, we pop it into that. Easy peasy. And I like to power my looper, your typical phone power brick that does the 5-volt output, which should give it more than enough power. And I have a similar cable here. So I'm gonna pop this into our power bar down here. Okay, and pop this in the back, and we should see it light up as soon as I do that. And you can see it's lit up blue. It's kind of hard to see on here because of the lighting, but you have blue there. Blue means there's nothing being recorded. Let's turn that back to center. Nothing's been recorded so far. If it's flashing green, it means it's recorded. It has a recording in it, but it has stopped. If it's lit green, it means it's playing back the recording. If it's red, it's recording. If it's yellow, it's overdubbing, right? Just functionality, but you guys can look online for all of that. But that's it to connect it, right? Like you can still, you typically, this is my wireless input here, you just connect your Spark the way it is, no problem. And you can just do it like that, even when the Spark is on, which it is right now, right? So you don't have to do any other wiring or connectivity. You don't have to plug into here or here. You just basically plug and play. Okay, so let's put that on the ground here. All right, we got that. So let's do a little test run, right? So your typical, let's bring over Chromio here. Okay, so like I said, got our wireless output here into here. You can use just a cable going to your, so you don't have to do anything different with your Spark, right? We have it set on like a clean with delay right now. You can hear it, right? Now I don't have this mic'd up or anything, but I'm gonna turn it up a little bit so you guys can get at least a decent sound. You should be able to hear that over my lapel mic. Okay, so nothing different is happening. Like if I unplug this right now, if I unplug the looper from the USB, still working, right? The looper right now, you can see on the ground, it's off. But as soon as I plug it back in, boom, should come back on. There you go. So we'll record a basic loop, but before you do that, you have to know that when you record a loop on this thing, it comes out through the music channel, right? Because it comes out through the music channel, you set it to unity on that, which is north, and set it to unity on this. So you basically put your music channel the same volume as your guitar channel, and it should be in a relative range. You adjust here and there, but like that should give you good enough control and levels on that, and you can also adjust it that way to your tastes, right? But we'll record a basic loop. So there you go. It's looping beautifully, right? So you can hear my guitar still going. Now if I want to turn up my guitar over top of this, I can. Now if I want to turn the loop down, I just turn the music channel down. Amazing, gives you extra control over your sound. But here's where the magic starts. So let's go to a lead sound. You can hear the loop hasn't changed, even though we moved to a lead sound now. It's a heavier sound. So that is the most amazing thing about it. This pedal acts like an effects send return that you would find on more expensive or more modern amps out there, which the Spark was never designed to have. This third party comes along, Xsonic, and allows you that functionality, which is a functionality I've been dying for in the Spark lineup of amps. So let me just stop this right now. Now to stop it, it's just a double tap. There you go, stopped, right? But you can hear like you hear how different that is from the loop that's loaded into the ULooper here, right? Let's just bring it back down to clean. So that is one of the most amazing things about it. Now, you can do overdubbing as well, like your typical, you know, let me see. Okay, got our loop. You hear the overdub there, right? It's a little bit off. Now this is an issue some people have had with the looper. There's a little bit of latency, but that latency is not caused by the looper. It's caused by the Spark's processing software and hardware, which was never meant to do this, but still you can kind of get around that and learn around that. There is a little latency on that last click and that first click, so you might get some weird stuff. But let's clear that loop out. So we do that, double tap. Once it's blinking green, we hold it down. Now it's cleared. Cool. Let's put this down for a second. I want to show you. So you're like, okay, cool, big deal. You got to plug it in and all that kind of stuff, power it. But the USB powering of this unit allows you to power it with a power bank, which is amazing. And also, when it's plugged in like that, it's also recharging your Spark. So the looper is recharging your Spark. These are kind of advanced power functions of this looper unit that I love. So let's pull the power out of the power brick and pop it into this guy right here. So this is just a typical 10,000 milliamp hour power bank. You can pick these up for like 30 bucks. Got all kinds of weird connections in the back, and you can just kind of like Velcro it to the side of your Spark, and you can have like a portable power unit for this and other devices and extra power for the Spark. It's fantastic. But you can see right now the ULooper is on. So same functionality, right? It's not going to die out. Let's switch that back. There you go. So now this whole thing is just perfectly portable, right? Take it anywhere you want to go. You can even use a smaller power bank. One half the size of 5,000 milliamp hour one will do you just perfect. It'll last hours. And again, you can just Velcro it on the side or the top of your Spark. Take it anywhere you want to go, do the looping thing. Endless practice and performance functions out of that. Like, that is amazing. Again, compare that to your typical looper, which you need a 9-volt option for, which only lasts a little while because these things draw like 150 to 200 milliamp hours or milliamps. And that draw is power intensive, especially for these tiny little 9-volt batteries. So portability of this is limited and clunky as well, because you have like all these kinds of things going on. So I love that part of it. That is my favorite thing about it. Now, going on to more functionality. Let's pop it out of the power bank and put it back in the power brick, because we don't need to use the power bank right now. Let's do that. Yeah, get back in there. Let me pull it out first and pop it in. Okay, again, this one's for my phone. It's an extra one I had for my phone just lying around. pop it in. Most smartphone power bricks like that will work going forward with this thing because they're 5-volt output and should be more than enough current for that. Okay, so we have our loop still working, all that kind of good stuff, all that jazz. Now, thing I haven't even tested out on this yet, you're gonna test it out with me, and the reason why I have this speaker here is because this is gonna act like a PA. So typically, if you're busking and you have like a portable PA unit, you can actually use the output on this to go into the PA and still have your Spark as your stage monitor. So for a Spark 40, for example, you can have that thing cranked and then just have the output for the PA or for your soundboard or your sound mixer go out separately, and that will allow different mixing for out of the crowd versus what you're hearing on stage, which is an amazing function to have on this. But I haven't tested it yet, so that's why I have this. And typically what you'll need to do that, so we have a 1/4 inch running into the back of this, and the output, let's go to camera 5. So your output for your PA is here. Hope it doesn't pop too. All right, let's load it in. You can already hear it's active in there. If I press this. Oh, my dog freaked out. My dog's in the studio with me, but you can hear the looper going on it already. Let me turn down. I'm gonna turn down the he's like running away right now. It's okay, buddy. Yeah, my dog's in the studio with me. I didn't mean to freak him out, but that's part of it. So let me turn the volume down on the PA because it's very loud right now. Yeah, bring it down to maybe 30%. Okay. So you can hear, now it's coming out of here. So that's the loop. Let's see if it's gonna deliver some guitar sound too. Okay, so I hear it coming out of here. And it's coming out of the PA as well. That's absolutely amazing. It's like a little mini mixer for you, a little mini mixing unit. So I can use this just for my thing, and then this is crowd. Love it. It's the first time I'm doing that. So basically this gives you an extreme power option. You can take it out busking or to your open mic nights. Let's stop that. To your open mic nights and not worry about having a DI box with you to get your Spark to work with your stage setup or anyone's stage setup, because you're just used to having a 1/4 inch input to go into a mixing unit or a microphone or something like that. Absolutely fantastic. Something I really, really love about it. Now, because it is a aftermarket product for the Spark, there's going to be bugs, right? There's bugs with everything. And in fact, I discovered a couple of them. So first of all, when you get this thing, make sure you firmware update it. Firmware update process is super easy. You connect it into your computer, you download one program. It's like a one-click thing. It'll update it to the latest firmware, and they're always updating the firmware to add more functionality and more features, and compatibility, and kill a lot of the bugs. One of the bugs that I found on this is, and it's not necessarily a bug, but it's more like a safety feature, but it comes across like a bug. If you have the audio on your phone, when you connect your Bluetooth to your Spark, you have the audio connection on your phone connected, because the Bluetooth connected to the Spark connects two ways. It connects data and it connects audio. So in your Bluetooth function, you got to disable the audio of your Bluetooth connection to your Spark, and I'll tell you why in a second, or just turn your Bluetooth off altogether. Now the reason for that is because the audio signal coming from your phone is using that music channel. So if you turn on your camera or try to play music back on your phone, it's going to turn the looper off completely, because the looper goes into protection mode of some sort, so that the channel gets overtaken by what the Spark is meant to do, and play back music on your phone. So that's one thing. So what I like to do is just turn the audio function off on my phone, or the Bluetooth off on my phone connecting to the Spark, and just keep the data thing going so I can select the amp and sounds and presets and such. So that's one way to get around it, but it doesn't look like, given the hardware architecture of the Spark and the aftermarket nature of the ULooper, that fix is going to resolve itself, because again, this is like, retrofitting your house. You're going to run into legacy issues, and that's one of them. Now, the second bug I found, and I'm not going to recreate it here because I don't know how it's going to interact with this, but your Spark has a tuner mode. Now, if we go into, let's see here, let's go to overhead cam. So your Spark has a tuner mode. Maybe we'll try it. And to get to the tuner, you basically hold down the pair button, right? So see how it's now in tuner mode? These lights here will act like a typical tuner on a acoustic electric guitar. Let me turn the volume up. See, now we're tuned up a little too high. This guitar is tuned up a little too high. It's been sitting in the studio for a while. I haven't really gone through crazy tuning. But yeah, that's your tuner for your Spark. And I know that now tuner's off. Okay, seems to be working. Sometimes this thing does not work anymore. On my Spark at home that I have, that's a bug that ends up happening. But I just updated this to the latest firmware, so maybe that bug has resolved itself. But that is one I find with my Spark unit at home. That happens if I go into the, let's go to camera 1. If I go into the tuning mode on my Spark at home, my Spark Mini at home, this thing ceases to function. I mean, it functions, but there's no audio that comes back through. But it seems that they may have fixed that in one of the firmware updates. I just updated the firmware to this right before starting, but just beware of that. So lesson is, make sure your firmware is updated on both your Spark and your Looper. Now, the sound coming out of this, I'm recording through my lapel mic, so you're not getting the best sound. But if you want to watch videos about sound quality and all that kind of stuff, I did a bunch of other videos on the various Spark units that have things mic'd up and all that kind of stuff. But for now, it's we're just doing this through the lapel mic because this video is about this unit and not about the sound quality. But it's worth saying that the sound quality coming out of here is fantastic. It's just as good as the guitar or the what's coming out of the Spark. It actually, what I noticed is that the playback on the Looper, when you record something in the Looper and play it back through the music channel, it compresses a little bit, which is kind of nice, to be honest, because you can hear a bit more of expanded and defined reverbs and delays and things like that. It's not as dynamic, which I think that's just part of the way the music channel on the Spark is designed, but I like it. Your preferences. And of course, the part of the quote-unquote bugs is the delay that happens, the latency that happens on the looping, but that's something you can very much get used to. Now, the overdubbing process on the Looper is pretty easy, but it doesn't allow you to delete that overdub or delete a loop. That's, again, functionality that they promise will come in future firmware updates. So you've got to make sure you bookmark the firmware page for the ULooper. But all in all, I've been using this for a few months now just to really get used to it and work through it, and I love it to death. And I would recommend it to anyone looking to add some amazing functionality to any Spark unit. And again, this works with the Spark 40, works with the Spark Go, works with the Spark Mini, the Spark Live, and all of Spark's products, which is fantastic. The latency, apparently, The Spark Live is not a factor because the processing unit has been upgraded in that, and you should check that out. But imagine, you can do full performance with just your guitar, this little looper, and even the Spark Go, because the Spark Go will now allow output direct to a PA system. Even though you could do it before with the headphone out, which acts as a line out on all Spark products, but this just streamlines it amazingly. I hope you enjoyed that video about the Xsonic ULooper. I love having this unit. I'm gonna probably buy another one, maybe one for friends, that kind of stuff, just so I can have a backup, one in the studio, one at home, and one that I travel with, kind of thing. I know lots of friends with Sparks and stuff like that, and I might get them as a gift too. They're not that expensive, so I recommend picking one up. Absolutely. Thank you for watching today's episode. I'm going to make a lot more of them going forward in the future. Been a bit busy over the last little while, but again, I thank you for subscribing. We've made it over the 500 hump, and I appreciate that. So if you're watching, you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so, and watch all our shorts and stuff like that. I'm going to make a bunch more of those. Got lots of gear in the studio that I want to eventually showcase on the channel, and I hope you'll stay here and watch it with me. Thanks. We'll see you in the next one. Sorry, buddy. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. Good boy. Yeah.